Hello, and welcome to another game development broadcast for Project CSK. As usual, of course, I am the creator of the project, and the online name that I go by is Des. We're going to continue working on the project like I have been doing for quite a while now. And I do these live broadcasts for you guys and for me, of course, because it's entertaining and it's an educational experience for myself as well. And the sharing of the project, I do it for you guys as well as for me again, because I get to the rare opportunity to take my spare time and put it towards a project and do something that I enjoy doing and learn from, and then share it with you guys so that you get some entertainment or education out of it as well. And then in the end, extra bonus, we'll be able to play online together and have some more fun. So that's kind of the reason why I do this and why I've been persistently working on this project for quite some time now. And it's something that I foresee myself working on for quite some time in the future. It's, of course, a really large project, and it's going to take me quite a while to make significant progress, but any progress is good progress for me, and it's fun to do. And it's fun to just make stuff and learn and see what I like, see what I don't like, and kind of thing, right? So we're going to continue more or less where I last left things off in the previous broadcast. Of course, there was a long weekend, so I had an opportunity to do some, I would say, some pretty good progress in terms of some of the functionality that I wanted to achieve. There's still some outstanding things that I need to find an appropriate solution to. Like, there are some logical flaws that I came across, and I was like, you know what, this kind of, it works, but it doesn't really, and I could make it work in a certain way that I want it to, but it's not the appropriate solution. So there's some things that I need to find an appropriate solution for before I really commit to that and have it be used throughout the project. So there's definitely those kinds of things, and there will be, of course, throughout the project, but it's the challenge. It's the figuring these things out. That's what makes it interesting for me. And it's something that I definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of making these kinds of things. And I hope you guys do too. I know that when I get like deep into it, I forget that you guys are even there, and I forget there's chat and I'm broadcasting and I'm just rambling and doing my thing, right? Whether it's programming, pixel art, doing UI stuff, or whatever the case may be. And I kind of forget about it, right? I just like, what do you call it? I call it being in the zone. So when you're in the zone, you tunnel vision, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? You tunnel vision on what it is that you're working on, and you really, really focus onto it, and the rest of the world just fades away, right? And it's this being in the zone is what allows me to do complex tasks. And oftentimes I need a good amount of time to build momentum to get into the zone in the first place, right? So usually there isn't enough time in the day, like when I sit down and do stuff like this, to really get into the zone. But periodically I'll get into it and I'll snap out of it here and there. But the goal is to be in the zone, but being in the zone is not necessarily the best thing for a viewing experience that would be entertaining for you guys, because then I forget that there's a camera, I forget that there's chat, I sometimes even forget to change the screen of what I'm working on, so you guys don't necessarily get to see it, but you hear me talking about some rather, I would say, multi-layered complex components, or whatever the case may be, of something that I'm working on. And again, that's not really a bad thing, right? But of course, if you see me being on the wrong screen, let me know, and I'll make sure I'll flip to the right screen. And this is meant to be a two-way thing. For those of you that are here, hello, and welcome. For those of you that are new, you're welcome to find out about the project at any time. You can go to the website and read my dev journals, are probably the best resource of information about the project and its history and whatnot. If you want to see the roadmap, definitely check out the YouTube video on the 10th anniversary that I did. that explains, again, a little bit of the history, but also the future roadmap of where I envision the project going, which is really important because that's kind of like the bigger picture. It doesn't cover everything. There's a lot of things that I would say are not quite covered in that, but it covers enough of it that you get the idea. And that's what's important, right? It's about painting a visual picture in your mind, right? For something that is not yet tangible. And that's kind of, yeah, it's been an interesting challenge and a fun one at that. And that's what keeps me coming back for more. Anyway, so let's jump into it and see kind of where we're at. I've been having some challenges with some stuff. I kind of got a few things figured out, and there's still some more stuff that needs to be figured out. So let's have a look at my notes first of where I last left things off over the weekend. And it was a great weekend. Having a long weekend, oh, it's so nice. Every weekend should be a 3-day weekend, preferably 4, but I'll settle for 3, you know? I'm not unrealistic. I'm very realistic. Okay, so in terms of notes, this is where I last left things off. This is for when the item is selected in the game room listings for viewing the active game rooms that you can join and play kind of like the Bomberman game mode in there. I need to clean up this class. Yes, absolutely. I kind of made a mess of things on the weekend. Check condition, 0 rooms available. Yes, absolutely. Good thing I wrote that note. I would have totally forgot about that. I wondered why it's not working sometime in the future. If this is the case, show the message, no rooms available. Yeah, definitely will do that. Have a look at the pop-up message for room password. The order and focus do not appear to be correct. Yes, I remember that. Have not yet tested join game room. Of course not. We haven't gotten to that point. Still need a navigation pivot type solution for when a panel is removed. Oh, yeah. So this is the one that I'm kind of stuck at. Not necessarily stuck, but I need an appropriate solution that fits the current UI and the way that I've implemented it, or I need to modify some of the components in my UI to behave in the way that I need it to behave, because the goal with the UI is to have it so it is compatible with touchscreen, mouse, keyboard, and gamepad, all of them, concurrently, on any device, on any supported operating system, on any supported platform that Unity can export to. You see what I'm saying, right? That's not exactly a simple task. Like, how many times have you went and you played a game, you downloaded a Steam game or whatever type of game, and it's mouse and keyboard only, and you're thinking to yourself, I would really like it if this had gamepad support, right? Or, you know, oh, this is a really simplistic game. It would be great on mobile, right? If you could play it on mobile, if you could port it to mobile, right? I've been in that scenario myself many, many times. And me, because I use a mouse and keyboard so much, and I know it's something that I've said before as well, I use a mouse and keyboard for work, if I use it for development, I use it for research, I use it for everything pretty much, right? When I want to sit down and relax, I don't want to use a mouse and keyboard. I mean, yeah, I'll use it, of course. It's not something I'm going to be like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. You know, I'll use it. But for me, for maximum enjoyment and relaxation, I prefer a gamepad. I know, kind of ridiculous, right? But I get more enjoyment from the gamepad from a controller because it also has a nostalgic feeling for me of back in the day, like back in like the Atari, Nintendo, and Super Nintendo days, where gaming was on a controller. Of course, if you went to the arcade, you'd be using the arcade stick, and you'd be spending an absurd amount of coins. But that's a different thing, right? I'm talking about this specific type of gaming, right? I mean, you could say that some games would still work with an arcade controller if you had enough buttons. That's possible too. But hey, who knows? I might just make that happen in the future. But the idea is that having options is nice. And that's where part of this comes from, is learning about these things and implementing it in a way that makes sense from an end user point of view. I shouldn't have to explain the controls to a user. A user should automatically know, okay, so I'm opening this game, mouse and keyboard, it should just work intuitively, right? Navigating through the UI. And then they plug in their gamepad, right? And it should just work intuitively. Sure, you got to just figure out what some of the buttons do at what time and whatnot, but it should be intuitive, right? So there's definitely some stuff that's still remaining to be figured out, and I'll figure those things out over time. But this is one of those challenges, coming back to this, right? Because I implemented the UI so that, because the UI, the way that it works, if you think about it, like even in Windows, right? Or in Mac, whatever, you open up an application, right? And then if you put another window of another application or another pop-up within that application, it layers on top, right? And if you bring something else up, again, it layers on top, right? So you're building it up in layers, right? But what if you remove the top layer, right? Where should focus go back to, right? It should naturally go back to the previous layer, onto whatever was the previous selection within that layer, right? So there's a system that had to be implemented to achieve that, because as far as I know, and I could be wrong, but as far as I know, Unity doesn't have that built in, and it definitely doesn't have that built in a way that works intuitively in the way with mouse, keyboard, gamepad, and touchscreen, and can recover focus. What I mean by recover focus is that if you click outside of a UI interface, like let's say you have a panel of the UI and there's a bunch of buttons and whatnot, but if you click outside of that where there's nothing that's selectable, right? The Unity event system current focus of the current game object, the selectable specifically, loses focus and it becomes a null value in the event system. So now you have nothing that's focused. You need to be able to recover focus if you press a direction, whether it's mouse, keyboard, or whatever, right? When you press a direction, you should recover that and go back to whatever had the previous focus, right? And that's another thing that I had to kind of figure out. And you put all of these things together, right? And you come up with the system that I'm in the process of implementing. And it's not perfect, but wow, it works so well. And it's one of those things that I've also shown that I didn't want to build out the UI, the navigational pathing of the UI, because if you leave it in Unity's automatic method, it uses, I believe, the nearest selectable object, or at least some kind of logic. It doesn't always make sense to me, but it uses some kind of logic to figure out the UI pathing. So if you select this object and then you press the keyboard right, which object is it going to move to, right? Unity does all that behind the scenes, right? And like I said, I don't know how they do it, but of course they follow some kind of a logic. Maybe they use relative distance or whatever the case may be, right? That doesn't work for me, right? Not for this game. So I built my own, and I'll show you guys real quickly what I mean by that. So you get a better appreciation of what it is I'm talking about. Okay, so here's my test, my prototype. So when I run this, you'll notice that there's no UI pathing. So we have buttons selected and we have visualization on, or visualize on. But as soon as I hit play, right, the UI pathing for everything gets built. There's the UI pathing. And no matter where you have selected, you can use directions and you can see different areas use different UI pathing. I know it looks like spaghetti and it's really difficult to make sense of it visually, but what it comes down to though is that it's structured in a way that follows a specific hierarchy. If you think about it, the hierarchy is similar to that of a tree branch or a folder structure, right? So we're at this top part here. Think of this as a tab. First, if I lose focus, I'm clicking outside of that. So right now, nothing has focus. But if I press any direction, focus will be recovered back to the current selection, which you'll see by the hand moving. So I'm going to press a direction. That's focus being set back and illustrating you where focus is. And then from here, so if you think about these are tabs, like a folder. Each one changes the content below. and the pathing is illustrated based on what is displayed and how it's supposed to be structured. So if I press down, where does it go, right? And where should it go? If you're using a gamepad controller or if you're using a keyboard, naturally it would go down to this nesting. This nesting now is a group, if you think about it, based on the visual background that I'm illustrating. So if I press right, or if I hold right, look at where it goes, right? So it loops infinitely to the right, and if I go left, it goes infinitely to the left. But at any one of these, if I press up, it goes back up to the parent, right? And if I press down, it goes back to whatever was the previous selection within this grouping, right? So that was some of the pieces of the puzzle. Now, what if I press down, though? This one is a grouping with nested groupings inside of it. So where would it go to? Right? Well, by default, I have it set to go to first grouping, first index, first selection, right? So that's where it goes to, right? But this one is a grid, so you can navigate it like a grid, and it has its pathing like a grid. But when you go to the right, it'll go over to the next grouping. And if you go right, it goes to the next grouping. And this one has a secondary panel inside of it, and you get to navigate through all of these. And by holding right, you can see how the navigation goes. If I hold left, you see how the navigation goes as well. And then same idea, going down to the third grouping, and it also stores what was the previous selection. So if I press up now, whatever was my previous one here is where it goes back to. If I press down, whatever my previous one was down here is what it'll go to. And if I press down, it loops back up to the top, but doesn't go to the parent navigation. It stays within the nesting of this grouping, right? All of these things needed quite a bit of time and effort to figure out the nuances. Oh, hi, you, Zach. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming by. Okay, so then, yeah, it had to work in multiple scenarios, which is, some of these are, of course, more complex than I will use it within the game, but I needed to push it. Right? I needed to push this concept to see how well would it handle a more complex scenario, because what I'm going to use it for is, of course, much more simple. Like here, it's just a grid, right? But this pathing is designed in a way that is accurate, and it fits exactly how you would think in terms of using a controller, right? But looping down goes up, but going up doesn't go down, it goes up to the navigation. And the navigation and content could be at any direction. Sometimes they're horizontal, vertical, to the left, to the right, or whatever, right? So this was an interesting challenge to figure out. But then you take that and you bring it into the, here. Same idea. A bit more simplistic, of course, but same idea. So no pathing, right? And then it generates the pathing on start. Oh, I need to select something. Okay, and there's our pathing, right? It's a bit more simplistic, of course, than before, but the logic is still the same, right? So when we go to these, it should navigate properly, and that I'm quite pleased with the result of that. I think it turned out quite well, and it's something that I'm still working on. But I think from a UI point of view and a user experience point of view, it's pretty good. And then from here, if you select something, then comes up the other navigation, which I won't get into, the circular navigation, which is pretty cool too. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. But what I was working on, though, and that brings me to where I was, where I got to, is this point here. So game rooms. Game rooms, the way that it works is that you can either create a game room, or you can pull the latest listing from the server, and the server will will give you the information about the game rooms you can join, which then can be illustrated in this view, and you can click on it to join the game room, right? But what if a game room is password locked? And this is where I kind of got to before, is if you get to a room that's password locked, you need to provide the password. So if you press the button, comes up the password screen. This, of course, is not yet configured properly, and this is where I'm at right now, is the order needs to be done. The background is on the wrong layer. you need to be able to click this. Right now, there's a scalable object intentionally to prevent or capture a background that's in front, that's preventing you to do exactly what it's supposed to do. So it's kind of behaving the opposite of what it should be doing, but we'll get there. And this is where I want to kind of pick things up from. Of course, I have not yet figured out a solution of how you would enter a password on a gamepad, but that's something I'll figure out at a later time. I'm not too concerned about that because likely someone is going to be playing either A, on a mobile device, which would bring up the touchscreen soft keyboard, or B, they're playing on a laptop or a desktop, which has a keyboard, right? So even though you want to play with your controller, you can still use the keyboard for this type of password or chat communication or whatever it may be, right? So this is where we're at right now. And this is where kind of my notes lead me, is pretty much right here, is what do you do when it's got a password and the room requires a password? So this function is the logical path that we're going to continue and take it from there. Oh, and for those of you that may not know, I'm broadcasting simultaneously on Twitch and on YouTube. So whatever works for you, that is your preferred platform, you can watch on whichever platform that you like. I don't mind. Okay, so let's jump right into it and see kind of where we're at. Okay, one sec. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so first thing, of course, this is not correct. Sorry, this is not correct. So the question is, of course, why is the ordering like that? Why is it like this instead of it being correctly ordered? And what is in front exactly? So I want to be able to select whatever's in front. Okay, so it's the yes, no message, or generic yes, no input, should I say. It is a generic one, so the text can dynamically change and it can be repurposed. That's kind of exactly what it's for. All right, let's see. Why is the sorting? I thought I had a sorting class attached to this for it to auto sort. Maybe I didn't. Or maybe I accidentally removed it. I don't know. But by the looks of it, so we have the background canvas on layer 4D. It's kind of what it looks like. Oh, that's missing an image too. That's unfortunate. Okay, so content. What about content? Okay, so I'm going to have to fix this layering. I think is definitely not correct. So we have the text title. Yeah, okay, I'm going to have to fix this layering. And then we got our buttons. All right, so let's go into the prefab then. And have a look at the prefab at that point, and then we'll continue with it. So it's going to be the yes, no input thingy. I really thought I had a sorting thing added onto it. Let's have a look at the other one that I imported from. So it was the, oops, I can't type. Okay, I'll need to bring that one in too, but for right now, let's just go with this. Okay, where's the sorting on focus? Okay, that's fine. We don't use that anymore, but that's fine. This. Oh, I see. I think this was legacy. I did this before I made that sorting class. Okay, so there is a sort kind of. I don't want to use that actually. I want to remove this and then add in the appropriate class that I made for that. Yeah, because it's more versatile, far more versatile, and it allows different functionality than this. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so there's that, and I think that should probably help with the sort. Because I want to fix the sort first before we can really continue with it. So let's see, what is missing? Source image is missing here, but it's not missing here, but it's the white. Okay, so it just couldn't find it. That's what it should be set to. I don't know why it couldn't find it, but for whatever reason, it's fine. Okay, so the events, I'll need to set those, and I'll get back to those. We only really need a pointer on click. Okay. So actually, I should be able to set that now. If I go here and select this handle background. Okay, so that's done out of the way. So that's good. I can consider that good for now. All right, let's save that. Let's see, what else is missing? I think there's a bunch of stuff that might be missing here. This one, how is this missing an image? Click-through prevention, but that should be the same as this. That doesn't make sense. I think that's a mistake. Oh, okay, never mind. Nope, not a mistake. Not a mistake. So that one is to control just this background. So if you click on it, it won't collapse. So this image is actually here, perfectly here. So then if you accidentally just click here, you won't trigger the event of the background below it, so it won't close this window. That's what that's for. Okay, so that's fine, but then this still has a missing image. So what's that image supposed to be? Okay, of course, it's the white one. White, 100 by 100. Even though it's fully transparent, it's still, I don't want to have missing images. This is fine. I'll make it sort and nothing here. Okay, so now we get into buttons. Buttons. That's fine. This looks okay. We'll need the on click and whatnot, but for the most part, this looks okay. Let's see. Okay, so that looks fine to me. And then this is the same thing. So 2 buttons, text message. This is dynamic text. and we have the canvas for it. This looks okay as well. And then this brings us to the background. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this thing up first, so then I can more appropriately adjust the sort. So the way that I came up, the solution that I came up with was actually thanks to an idea someone else presented, is that if you want it to sort, you need to do it manually, simply put. But if you want a dynamic sort, right, just take everything and put it into a list and then loop through that list, right? So the solution that I came up with is pretty much exactly that. I'm paraphrasing, of course. So I made a sort class, which is this here, right? And this just takes a list of anything, pretty much anything you want. And it'll sort from the lowest to the highest in order of the objects placed within the list. But then you can set the start value. Let's say I wanted the sort value to start from 100. The first object in the list would start at 100, the second would be 101, 102, 103, and so on. That way, I can just rearrange the list here visually, right? Instead of this is hard-coded, so this is not a good solution. But it initially started off with this, though. This was the original solution, which then came to be a dynamic list afterward. And I'm not concerned about performance because it's only going to run once on the start of the game object or the panel that's being displayed, right? And then start only runs once. So unless you destroy it and recreate it, it's not going to run again anyway. So it's perfectly acceptable to run a sort, which is not even going to be that heavy of a task, really. It just loops through a list and sorts a bunch of objects. That's it, right? Okay, so let's do that, exactly that. What we need is the bottommost object. The bottommost object is actually going to be the background. Okay, so then from there, the next one we need is this background click prevention. And the way that the list system that I've made works is that you have to add in the object that is sortable. Let's lock this real quick. And the object that's sortable is either going to be a canvas, a sprite renderer, or something similar to that that has specifically a sorting capability. So that's why I'm selecting the canvases at this time and not the parent object. If I was to click the parent object, it would fail. But if I take the canvas, oh, I don't know what happened with OBS. I think OBS crashed. Let me know if the broadcast is still live, but I think OBS might have crashed. I'm not sure. That's interesting. Okay, anyway, I'm going to continue. I don't know if the broadcast is still going. If it is, great. If it's not, I'm sorry. Something interrupted the broadcast, and I think it may have crashed. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Okay, so back onto the sort concept. So in terms of sorting, I need to grab the canvas. So this will be our second object that's sorted. And then I'm going to go from the bottom up, of course. Even though this is a list, we're going to go from the lowest to the highest. So we have our canvases, and then we should have our background group. Okay, so whatever this is, it doesn't matter. It'll override it. So that will be the next one that gets added in there. We'll go with background. And if for whatever reason one platform is having difficulties, you can always switch to the other one. Like if you're on Twitch and Twitch, whatever interrupts the broadcast, you can switch to YouTube. If YouTube's having difficulties, you can switch to Twitch, whatever you prefer that works for you. I'm perfectly okay with. All right, so let's continue with the sort here. And the good thing about this is that it's a visual thing, right? There's no code, no additional code I need to do here. I could hand it off to someone who's like, let's say, a UI designer, and I could say, this is how you use it this way, and it'll work. It solves a very specific challenge, and it does it well. And you just need to remember that you're going from the bottom up. So I'm going from the very bottommost elements up. So now we're at this point, right? So from there, then that means the next one is going to be the title. Yeah, next one is going to be the title. Let me just collapse this so it's out of the way. And this. Okay, that's fine. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to add the title next. It'll be the next sorted object. And I like to check to make sure, just so I'm selecting the right object, right? Oh, okay, so I got the title, but I didn't get the background. I need the background of the title as well, which is what exactly? Oh, okay, so it's in there. That's fine then. So that's separate. So this is next. Sorry. This is next. And then we'll just keep going down the line. Because I think that encapsulated, yeah, all the backgrounds are in there. Okay, so that's fine. Then it goes to this. Then we can have free reign. And I think the remainder of the stuff is whatever. Yeah, because then it'll be this displayed text, which is dynamic text. And this one is a canvas, so that can go in next. And I'll just keep going top down. Okay, so the canvas for the message prompt is going to be next. And then we can go with the input. So the input, again, we need to go with the canvas. So I'm just going to grab the canvas, drop that in there. Okay, so there's two more things remaining. And those two are, of course, the buttons. And I'm going to grab the button canvases. Wait, no. I think I missed the button shadows are not a part of the canvas. Okay, so those will need to go under the buttons. So what I can do is I can go with button shadow first, and then go with the button canvas. Yeah, that's what I'll do. And then I can go button shadow first, and then go with, wait, was that the right one? And the great thing about a list, so this is the other reason why I do this, is because you can change the order. If I wanted to say, oh no, I wanted this on top, you just grab it and change the order however you want visually. And it works really well. Right? So I think that's my sort. Right? And the good thing about this is that this, I can either A, have it be this on start, right? Or B, so the B option is that it can dynamically be called via script. Let's say I have another object that occupies the ordering number that this would normally fall onto. I can create this object, place it on the canvas, so on the main screen space of the game, and then call the function and have it dynamically set the starting value and then change all of these in their sorting order. So we can do that as well. But in this particular case, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a value. Let's go with just 50 for now. And I'll say run once on start, and I'm going to leave it as that. And we're going to run it now and see, does it still visually look messed up, or does it actually look correct now? And I'm hoping that it looks correct. If not, I missed something, but then it should stand out if I did miss something and be able to address it. There we go. So now it's sorted correctly, and because it's sorted correctly, I can select this area and I can put in my password. I could select one of these. Oh, okay. Cancel is working. Let's try that again. So the focus initially is not going to the right object, and that's fine. It's because focus is still on the layer behind, and I'll fix that. But what I want to see is this here. Are these linked? No. Okay, so all of these... Okay, so that's our next step. What if I click on the background? Okay, that works. That's great, actually. But focus, you'll notice, didn't go back to the object below. And that's the thing that I mentioned earlier, that I said I need to address that and find an appropriate solution for it. And it's something that I'm still kind of working on to see what I can do with that. And if you guys have suggestions, by all means, I don't mind. You know, I'm open to ideas. That doesn't mean I'm going to implement it, but your ideas of feedback that you give me can spark different ideas from me, or different solutions that then I go and try to implement, right? So there's this beneficial, I can't think of the right word, but there's always benefits in a collective knowledge, should I say, because you can always bounce ideas off of each other, feed off of each other's solutions, and pull together a better solution or a more appropriate solution. Or sometimes even just a less convoluted solution. Because, I mean, let's be honest, we've all been there, we've all done that. I can't think of the number of times I have over-designed a complex functionality that I thought was supposed to be super complex, only to have someone else point out and say, hey, by the way, did you think about doing it this way? And I'm thinking there, you know, that face expression with Captain Jean-Luc Picard, right? That perfect expression where he's like, right? That's exactly what I was thinking, right? Because then at that moment, I realized, right, there's a better solution. And then I go in and implement the better solution. Not only is it cleaner, it took less time to implement, it's more versatile, it is more efficient, right? And this is, I'm generalizing here, right? But there's just so many benefits to approaching something differently. And it's oftentimes guided by another individual's input that they just had a different point of view on it. And that's what's really interesting. That's what makes programming so interesting, though. Because you can have so many different ways of solving something, and so many different ways of interpreting something, and so many different ways of even approaching something, right? Like for me, when someone explains a complex technical challenge to me, I break it apart in my mind down to its individual pieces, right? And then I reassemble it into these core components, and then I take those core components and assemble them into bigger and bigger pieces until I have the whole solution. That's generally how I think, actually, and that's thanks to programming. Other people, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, they approach things very differently, and they'll get to a similar, better, or not as good a solution because we're all different and we all think differently. And that's freaking awesome, because that's what makes us versatile, and that's what allows us to, you know, feed or give back to society, or to advancement of technology as a whole, right? It's about that feedback, and it's really important. Anyway, I think I went off track a little bit there. Oh, wow. My mouth is just so dry today. Okay. So right now, the next step is I want to take focus. Oh, right. We need to do cleanup first. Clean up onto the this prefab here. I want to remove this legacy logic. So where's that one that I collapsed? This stuff here, all of this stuff here that I used for the old sort is now a part of the new sort with superior functionality, and I can more easily sort it. So I want to remove this stuff and see if anything breaks. If nothing breaks, great. If something breaks, well, then I'll fix it. Heiska Studio says, yes, what you said is true. Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree with you enough on that. It really is so important. And that's what is really important about both being, so oftentimes when you're in a work environment, being a team member and being a team leader, right? It's not about being right or wrong. It's about contributing your part of it. And it's something that as a team leader myself, which I've been in that situation for a long period of time, a team leader, part of the role of the team leader is understanding the value of the team members. That's a really important part of it, right? And then each team member, like let's say you come across a challenge, each team member can provide a piece of the solution, right? And if you take each one of the pieces of the solution that the team members have provided and you put it together, you'll have a pretty good solution oftentimes. It may not always be the best one, but you'll have a solution, right? And that's the role of a team leader, is to direct the team in a beneficial direction to achieve the desired outcome or goal, whatever it may be. It could be technical or it could be otherwise, right? So feedback and just, being engaging, I think as a team member or as a team leader is important. And that's another important thing too, is too often I've been a part of teams where someone, different people have different personalities, right? Some people are really outspoken. Some people are over the top and they want to be the comedian, right? Other people, they're really shy, and that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, but those shy people, right? Those shy people that generally are not outspoken and are the ones who are not always presenting their ideas forward, they actually sometimes have some of the best ideas, right? Like when I was a team member and I was leading teams, and I mean teams as in big teams, not in the IT industry, for work, for other stuff, what I was doing is getting feedback from the individuals, both from the team leaders that I was leading. So I was leading the team leaders who were then leading the team members, right? And then the team members try to talk to them as well, right? Because some people are too shy to speak in front of others because they think their idea is stupid or it's silly, and it's not. There's nothing stupid about that, right? But if you get them on a one-on-one, right? And then be like, oh, hey, I noticed, I asked this question. You didn't have any feedback at the time. Now that we're talking one-to-one, do you happen to have any feedback or any opinions on this topic that I brought up? Let me refresh your memory. Here are the key points. What do you think, right? And then you get some of the best ideas from the shy people. And it's like, wow, okay, so as a team leader, how do you solve that? You earn the respect of the team members and the other team leaders so that each member or leader, not always the case, has the confidence to know that they can present their idea forward and no one is going to say anything to them about it in terms of being detrimental or put them down. That's really important. And when you do that, you build that individual's confidence and you build a certain trust with that individual. So then the next time, similar idea, and you ask for ideas, right? Those team members are going to be a lot more likely to present their ideas forward. And that again comes back to each person provides a piece of the solution to the challenge ahead. And you take all of those pieces, you put them together, and you got yourself a solution. Something that I like to think about once in a while. Because, like I said, to be a team leader, you have to know how to be a team member, right? And I'm perfectly okay with being a member or a team leader. As a team member, I get to learn from other leaders, right? Which I also really like. I really like that because that gives me an opportunity to kind of sit back and be in the support role. And I really don't mind that. I really don't mind being given the opportunity to learn that way from someone else's leadership. And then when it's my turn to lead, right, I take all of the experiences that I've had and take that and try to lead other people in the direction that then they could become future team leaders, or they could have their confidence built up so they can contribute back. I know I'm kind of sidetracking here, a little bit of a sidetrack, but it's these kinds of things personally, having been around for so long, and something that I've experienced over the years through various different environments of work that I've done. It's just these little things you pick up on that eventually become a part of who you are as an individual. Learn to listen and take the solution that they share works a lot, like you said. I agree. Thank you. Yeah, I absolutely agree. What is your game about? Great question. Great question. I like that question. So this game it's to put it simply, it is something that I enjoy working on my spare time. And it's an educational opportunity for me because I don't usually get to explore my technical side of it and go down this rabbit hole of dark sorcery, sometimes also referred to as programming. It's something that's really fascinating because it's a logical challenge. It's like solving a complex logical thing. What this project is about specifically is right now, of course, you can see I'm working on the UI, but it's actually a port from my old project, which was built in ActionScript 3, and it's a multiplayer game. Let me run the local client here. And hardly no one's really heard about it, with a small number of exceptions. This is, of course, Vector, which is why it scales so well. The new cross-platform client is not going to be Vector. So we'll log in. Okay, it is a multiplayer game. It is server authoritative, of course. So the Flash client side is just meant to display. So this is the old UI. This is the new UI for the lobby, right? So new UI, old UI. And there's still a lot more functionality to be added, but there's two very clear different types of gameplay. One is you play inside of game rooms. Do I have my browser open? How do I always forget to open that? Let me just open this up real quick. And I'll show you some YouTube videos. Okay, so we'll go to YouTube. No, not Candy Crush. Okay, so this is one of the types of gameplay. I think you guys can see it. So this is just highlight reels of gameplay. So this is from within the game rooms, which is what we're building towards right now. So it's multiplayer, up to 8 players. Classic kind of Bomberman, where you can play everyone for themselves, or you can play in teams. That's one type of gameplay. And then the other one, completely different, is with the pets, where you have pets within the world, and you can collect different pets, items, quests, and do combat. This one, I think we went and fought a boss. Anyway, so it's my own flavor of turn-based, real-time, custom-built engine for combat. And this was something that I made, believe it or not, nearly 12 years ago now. It was one of the best learning experiences I have ever had. Massive project, of course, massive project, but it was so fun and I learned so much from it. And it's something that I've really enjoyed. And the players, there was a small community that formed around it that some people still to this day play occasionally now, and are now in my Discord server, waiting for the new cross-platform client. So the new cross-platform client is taking basically the source code and the game engine from this. So I'm focusing mostly on the client-side logic, porting everything over into Unity. So it's going to be cross-platform in terms of Android, iOS, Windows, Mac OS X, whatever Unity can export to. And then the controls will be also multi-input supportive. So it'll support gamepad, mouse and keyboard, and touchscreen on any device. So it doesn't matter what the device is or what the platform is, you're going to be able to play it. And that's kind of the idea of the game. However, having done that 12 years ago, my knowledge and my experience and my vision has somewhat changed of the project. So if you think about it, this was the original. So that's CSK Classic. This is going to be the new one. And I have one more thing I can show you real quick. Bear with me for a sec. My computer's a bit outdated. So this one's going to be the artwork one that I'm going to show you. This is the pixel art stuff that I did that shows the environment and how it's going to be in the new Unity version. And I'm, of course, using Cinemachine for the camera. For the control inputs, I couldn't find a Unity one that fits my specific use case because I needed to work on a lot of different things and conditions. So let me snap this. Okay. And then this is, should be running. There we go. So this is the new artwork, and it uses a 2.5D camera perspective with some interesting trickery to kind of give you pixel art in a 2.5D. Can't see. Oh, sorry. I forget what screen you guys are seeing, but you should be able to see it now. Thank you for letting me know. I do make that mistake often. Okay, so here is what I was saying is that now it's 2.5D, but it looks like traditional pixel art camera point of view, like, you know, the bird eye view or the top down view, but it's actually not, because you can go in behind, you can go in front, you can jump up on top of stuff, right? And you can travel through the rest of the world and the camera will follow you around. And this is going to open up some really interesting game dynamics, dungeons, environments, and that kind of stuff, which will come into play at a later time. And you can, of course, double jump, right? So this artwork is all done by me at this time, but what you see is you think, oh, it's flat, it's 2D, like traditional 2D art, right? Until you realize, no, actually, there's a little bit of magic going on in there. And here is what the game engine sees. Let me just click on something. Of course, I selected that. So here is what the game is actually looking like. But because of the fixed camera point of view, it does look like traditional bird eye, 2D kind of pixel art. So it's taking a mix of both. So that's why I'm calling it 2.5D, which is what allows you to move around any environment, and you can jump on top of any environment, even though the colliders are not correct right now. But you can jump on top of other objects, and you have real-time shadows, right? And you can interact with objects in ways that you traditionally would not be able to do in just a pure 2D environment. Sorry, my throat's really dry. But so this is the other thing I wanted to show you is this is the pixel art stuff that I did. You love it? Thank you. I think it turned out really well. I learned so much so far just by doing this stuff, like building the artwork in Sprite and just figuring out how to make something work that looks not just good, but fits the intended game mechanics in the way that I'm going to be using it, right? That's a challenge in itself. To make artwork, oh, I'm still looking for an artist. I know it's been an ongoing challenge, but that's another thing. I'm still looking for another artist, but we'll get one eventually. Reminds me a little of Habbo. Habbo. Oh, you mean Habbo Hotel, the game, right? I think that's what it's called, right? Habbo Hotel. I'm just going to look that up. Yeah, I think this is what you're referring to. Yeah, I can see the resemblance. I can definitely see the resemblance to it. This is going to be, yeah, so theirs is, of course, isometric, but it's got this unique charm to it, you know? That pixel art isometric charm, there's something about it that I personally like better in a way for some scenarios, of course, not for all games, but for some scenarios, it works better and it's more enjoyable and it's more of an immersion when you're playing the game to get into that specific type of fantasy world. And I really like those kinds of things. But it's completely 2D. Yeah, isometric is generally, from my understanding, not always, but generally it is 2D. I'm still quite fascinated by the solutions that they come up with for different technical challenges. Because when something is 2D, you can't go behind it usually and have a vertical depth. You can't jump and use jump type of mechanics. You can't do certain types of things. And oftentimes, and 99% of the time, you won't have real-time shadows. So there's pros and cons to everything, right? But when you have just pure 2D, it is very performant. It will easily run on a potato at 60 frames per second from like 10 years ago, right? Whereas what I'm doing here with this project, there's going to be a minimum system requirements to run the basics, and then anything eye candy-ish visual effects will be layered on top of that, which will require a bit more system resources to render or calculate that kind of functionality. Yeah, so there's definitely some interesting things that can be done, which is what I like about game development as a whole, right? Because there is no limit. There is really no limit. It's whatever you can imagine, you can figure out some way, some shape of some technique to make it happen, even though there's a little bit of trickery and a little bit of black magic in there as well, right? But you can generally make it happen as long as you can visualize it and take that vision and slowly piece it together mechanically in terms of systems and subsystems. You can build them together to make something happen. Like another example that I'll give is my circular navigation. I don't think I've shown you that one. Oh, hello, Roger the Rock. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. So here's another one in terms of systems. So this is a circular navigation that I built. What we'll do is we'll select a player and watch the navigation from a sphere point of, it's a circular kind of navigation. It's 2D, right? So it comes in, but it's a little fast. So don't worry, you'll get to see it pretty soon. So this is the test, right? Okay, so that looks a little too jumbled. Let's go over here. Oh. Okay, so here is how this works. This is, again, entirely dynamic, right? This is my test, so it goes infinitely inward, right? But this is, again, because of something, a challenge that I needed to solve. So the circle, the diameter of the circle is dynamic. The number of items on the circle is calculated using trigonometry, and it is dynamic. And the navigation, the bounciness, all of it, and this works on touchscreen, gamepad, and of course, mouse and keyboard. And it's got these really nice transitions, right? And then when you commit to something, right, it will either A, commit to it, right, or collapse, right? So this is another example of taking an idea, right, and slowly building it up and making it into something that functions and achieves the desired goal of what you wanted it to achieve. So this right now, I can't show you the different areas that it's going to be used in, but it's going to be used for the emote system, another one that I built. It's going to be used for various types of interaction, such as UI interaction, inside of when you get into the pet combat system for casting abilities and performing actions, those kinds of things, they will utilize that circular navigation. So that's why it's dynamically built to be used in various different use case scenarios, similar to the UI and other UI components like the dynamic structured navigation that I'm using here to achieve this kind of navigation pathing. So same idea. Everything came out of a necessity, and it's coming together quite well. I'm definitely pleased with it. Of course, it takes time. All of it takes a considerable amount of time and effort, and sometimes just research, right? Sometimes it's just about research-wise, just investing the time and looking at what other people have done. That's usually a really good starting point. And then looking at what other people have done and then take that knowledge and try to implement it yourself. Like, for example, another one that I can bring up is the scroll view inside of Unity. There is no functionality to go to your selection. So let's say you have these here. There is no functionality to take your current selection and bring it and scroll the viewport of the scroll view so that your selection is always within the viewable area. Unity doesn't have that built in as far as I know, right? So again, it's another one of those things where I had to look into it, and eventually I came up with my own solution, and I think it turned out very well. I'm pleased with it. Anyway, so I was sorry, I kind of went off on a rant there. Right, input. Okay, we need to go back to this thing. Okay, so back to this. So what we need to do is I want to remove this stuff here. So let's go to this class. I believe there's a sort function somewhere in here And then I want to reference that. There we go. Okay, so here is our sort, and where's it called from? So, okay, I want to remove that as well. So I want to remove that, and then I want to remove this, but this shows me, so the background, the canvas, sorting groups, title, and all of that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take that stuff out, and let's see what breaks. Oh, animation property curve. That is not supposed to be removed. Let's separate that out. Okay. I don't think I'm supposed to take this one out. I think that's supposed to stay as well. No. Let's leave it out. Let's leave it out. If something breaks, that's fine. I'll fix it. Not a big deal. I have to leave, but good stream. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to hang out, and have a great day. Okay. Let's see. So I want to remove both of these. This is all legacy. I want to just comment it out. I don't want to completely remove it. I want to comment it out. That should take away the errors. Okay. Handle focus set. This is legacy. This is legacy. Going to take that out. I'm going to take this out. That's fine. Set default focus to. Okay, so everything focus related, there is new logic that I'm going to be using. So we're going to take all of this stuff out. I don't know what that is. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so all of this stuff looks okay for now. Backspace. Oh, right. We'll leave that there for now, just in case. Okay, so this looks good. The question is, though, will it function? Okay, so that brings us down to button OK, button cancel. Do we need those? Button OK and button cancel. What do I use those for? Oh, okay, for setting the text dynamically. Okay, yeah, I will definitely leave those there, because it is a dynamic panel, and I want to be able to change the text values inside of both these. This can be a normal text field or a password text field. The title can change, and the message that's displayed can change, because this gets used for a lot of different things throughout the game. Right? So let's say, for example, a use case would be to, when you go to use a pet egg and get your pet out of it, right? It's going to ask you for provide your pet name. Or if, let's say, you use a guild tablet and you want to create a guild, same idea, same pop-up message comes up, but it's just reworded and repurposed while still having the same functionality behind the scenes at its core. So what else can we take out then? I think that's it in terms of taking stuff out. Let's see if it functions though, because I just took that stuff out. I have a feeling I may have broken some of its functionality as well. So let's test it real quick just to see, does it function? Okay, so it comes up correctly. Oh, that was a bit strange. If I click, oh, okay, I see. Backspace and escape are not working. That's fine. If I click cancel. Okay, so we lose focus there. Interesting. If I click here, focus, no, it doesn't work. Okay, I still need to fix that focus thing. And I will fix that, of course, sometime in the future when I get a chance to. Okay. For those of you that are new and coming in, hello and welcome. Thanks for coming to the broadcast. Feel free to say hi if you don't want to, or if you just want to come hang out and watch me work on the project. That's perfectly fine. I don't mind. What works for you works for me. This is something I work on my spare time, something I do for fun, and something I enjoy. I really enjoy working on, and it's a really good learning opportunity for me because I don't do this kind of stuff usually for like my normal work kind of thing. This is not what I do. So this is the rare opportunity I get to explore a different skill set that I find very fascinating, and it's just fun. I don't know how else I can put that. Okay, so there was the background. I think it was this. Was it not? Pointer event. No, that should be working. Oh, it was the cancel button. Right. It was the cancel button. So cancel and OK. That's what it was. Cancel and OK buttons. Okay, so I want on click or on submit. I think they're both the same. Let's go with submit. So then we'll select pop-up message. This one was the cancel. Oh, there's a string that goes with it. I didn't even realize that. Okay, I'll look at the other version to see what that string is supposed to be. Okay, and then this one is the what did I name those? Okay, I'm going to reference the old one. Nope, not that. And close that. There we go. Okay, so where do these buttons go to? Okay, so this is not used. Wait, what? How do I capture OK and cancel events then? Do I do it dynamically through script? Because I don't see it here. So if it's not on here, chances are I may be doing it dynamically via script. That might be possible. Let's have a look at that. So let's go with button OK. That's text. Oh, okay. So yeah, all right. So I'm adding the listener dynamically. And if you're not familiar with that, you can absolutely do that. You just need to get access to the button, and then it has the on click. From here, you can either invoke it on behalf of the button, same as if the button was clicked, or you can add listener to it this way. And then this goes to my button OK and button cancel. Okay, so from here then, the button dispatches the event. And then what? I see. Okay. So I have a cancel event. So I have cancel and confirm. Okay, so I'm using neither of those. Okay. Interesting. And then I have a dispatch cancel, which is generic. So that's my own event system. Kind of runs in parallel to the Unity event system, and it uses the delegates at its core. It's a very helpful event. What was this? It's not called. Okay, so I'm a little unsure of why that button is not working. Let's go back to it and try it again and see what happens. So the next thing I need to do is I need to change the class that it inherits from to achieve the other functionality, which then I'll get into once I figure this piece of it out. So from here, clicking cancel. Oh, it does work. Why did I think that doesn't work? Clicking on background works, cancel works, OK works. Okay, I'm unsure what I was doing then. I think I imagined that it's not working. Maybe. Okay. Then that is working. All right then. So removing all of that stuff was a success. Is there anything else we want to remove? So the animation stuff, I'm not going to get into that. So we'll just collapse that. That's my own custom animations. And if you're not familiar with Unity's animation curve, it's a component. It is really good and it is really powerful and it allows you to do some pretty cool stuff. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Okay. So what I want to do then is I want to inherit that functionality. So we're going to change what this inherits from. So right now it's inheriting from mono behavior and it uses iEvent dispatcher, which is my own event system, like I said, or sorry, this is a part of my own event system that I've created, that I said I created. However, we're going to extend from component GUI focus element. That changes this considerably. And that then ties into my UI system of the navigation that I mentioned is cross-platform or cross-input compatible. So it'll support touchscreen, touchscreen, mouse, keyboard, and gamepad. So that's what this thing is all about, and it's pretty freaking cool to see it working. It's not quite completed yet, but it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. All right, so what we're gonna do then is now that it inherits, you'll see this change. You'll see just fill out. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so here's the stuff that it comes with. It's quite a bit, I know. Okay, so what I want to do is I want it to register. So on enable, I want register. On disable, I want it to unregister. I think we might need obtain focus on creation. And then what we'll do is we will set focus to, we'll set focus to previous selection or index 0, whichever. And then we need some children to add it to. So then, or sorry, some children to add to it. And our two buttons, we'll go with button cancel in the primary. So we'll go with button cancel, and all of these inherit or extend from this class. The class, this one here. All of them extend from this. And because of that, it allows me to recursively nest them. So infinitely deep and alongside each other, and all of them tie into each other. Really cool. So this object, the parent object here, extends from that. But so do these buttons. That's why I'm able to take these buttons and drag and drop them into my primary list, which will be used for redirecting navigation. Oh, and another thing, if any of you guys know how to solve Unity's event system navigation limitation, which is if you set focus to an object within that same frame, immediately have that object on focus, redirect focus to something else, Unity crashes, right? If you guys know a solution to that, let me know, because the solution that I came up with is upon receiving focus, the object will use a coroutine if it wants to redirect navigation and wait till end of frame, right? And then redirect that navigation. So that gives Unity enough time to process from the start of the frame to the end of the frame. So all of the logic that needs to be done is done. And then you can safely redirect that focus. But what that does is it creates a visual anomaly and a temporary delay depending on how long it takes that frame to load or be processed, should I say. So sometimes you'll see the hand pointer, the one that you see me using for the navigation, this little guy right here, right? Sometimes you'll see it pause really quickly for a single frame or half of a frame, and then all of a sudden be moved to the correct location. And that's my workaround to it. Of course, I can just hide the finger, the hand pointer. That's a solution, not the greatest solution, but it's something that's possible to do, right? But right now, the solution that I decided to go with is to just have it be redirected based on a coroutine that uses the on focus received, wait till end of frame, and then redirect it. But then if you have multiple nestings of redirection, every single one, let's say you have 3 nestings of redirection, so then that's 3 frames that is going to be the duration of 3 frames, and you're going to see this stutter of 3 frames. The finger pointer moves from one to the next, and then to its resting position, right? Of course, I can hide all of that, right? And most users won't notice the difference of delay when using the UI for a fraction of a second. But for me, it's one of those things on the back of my mind that I would like to learn to do better. That's my point there, is if there is a solution, I'd like to know about it. That's what I want. Okay, so let's move on here. Now that we have both of those set, I should be able to say, where are we? Oh, I only did one of them. Okay, I need to do the other one. So this one's the cancel button. And then we'll go with button OK. Okay, so we have both of those. These are primary orientation is horizontal, so left and right, we'll shuffle through them. Secondary direction doesn't matter because we're not using the secondary list. And that's it. Previous selection is correct. Okay, so now when we bring the panel up, the focus should go to the first button on the left. I forget which one it is. Whether it's the cancel button or if it's the other one, whichever. Or not. Not what I was thinking. But once it has it, oh, it still doesn't. Oh, right. Okay, I forgot one more thing. Because I extend from that class inside of start, I need to say base.start, okay, because that is in the base class. And on destroy, we need to say base.destroy because of the way that object-oriented programming works. We want to call the base class start and the base class on destroy. Yeah. That should address it. If not, then I'll have to use the other checkbox, which is to obtain focus on start. But I want to try to avoid using that one because it can be a bit aggressive at times. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have to use it. So obtain focus on creation. Let's see if this works. If this doesn't, then that means I overlooked something, and that's why it's not working. Oops. There we go. All right. So then from here, I can say cancel. Okay, so that's the other thing I still need to fix, that is focus not going back to exactly where it was. But so now this is working. We can't set focus to the input field yet because that logic just doesn't exist. And I don't want to get into that. If you're going to go to an input field, I want the user to be able to just select it, type it out, and then just go from there and go that way. OMG, I'm late. This is what I'm looking for. Well, first of all, hello and welcome. If you happen to miss anything, that's okay. Not a big deal. You can always watch the video on YouTube. It will be archived into my playlist for the development of the project. So anything you want to see, it should be archived in there. Anyway, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And I usually do broadcast on these times, roughly speaking, of course. I broadcast on Tuesdays and on Fridays pretty consistently. And I follow the same, pretty much the same broadcast schedule. I know I haven't uploaded my schedule into YouTube yet, and I will, but I do have it on Twitch as well. And that way you know exactly roughly the time slot that I'll be starting my broadcast and ending my broadcast. I do need to do that for YouTube as well. So for those that do want to watch it, you can find it easily. But the other way is to just join the Discord or follow me on Twitter or Instagram, and that way you'll know when I go live, because I do post it for those that don't really use social media, because I get it. I'm not really a social media guy myself. I never really used it with the exception of, okay, so that's not true. I used MySpace way back in the 90s before it even became popular. So before the whole MySpace hype, I used it for about a week. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not really into this. And I stopped using it. That was my experience with social media. Since then, I only use it for projects or for work or for that kind of stuff. So I completely get it. Some people, it's just not their thing. No worries. I'm the same way. I have been using Discord quite a bit though. But Discord, I kind of think of it as a little bit different than the other platforms. It's more of a chat-oriented gaming kind of thing, which I find can be really helpful for real-time communication, both in terms of chat and being able to talk to someone about something, regardless of where they are around the world. So that's something that that I definitely use it for. Anyway, let's see here. I just got reminded of by one of the users is that we do have the, I know it's difficult to think, it's been that much time already, the 12th year anniversary of this original project that I created when the server went live. So this thing right here, when this went live 12 years ago with Flash. Wow. It's been that long. This project is pretty much old enough to go into high school pretty soon. Right? It's crazy to think that, right? But this project, so the old Flash client, the 12th anniversary is coming up, and I will be in here, me and Cheesy Puffs. We're going to be in here for those that are going to want to play on the classic Flash client, which you can still play using Flash Player Projector provided by Adobe. So it's a standalone instead of in your browser. It'll always work. You can load any Swift file with it. So I'll be in there. You'll find me in the world, probably somewhere around here in a game room or defeating some monsters or whatever the case may be at a later time. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So if you guys want to come by, for those of you that have an account and want to experience the old client, this is the old client, and this will be the new client. If you want to come hang out, it will be on the 7th of next month. So it is going to be on June 7th. So it's coming up pretty quick, actually. It's going to be the 12th anniversary. I already subscribed to you, but forgot to enable the bell. I'm good. Thanks, mate. I will check the playlist. You're very welcome. And yeah, if you have questions, that kind of stuff, feel free to ask. I don't mind. In these broadcasts, I'm just talking. I don't usually talk this much, to be honest, in real life. I don't formulate this many words to put into a sentence probably during an entire week of my life, because I don't talk this much. But during these broadcasts, it actually helps to logically talk through something. And I think it helps for you guys viewing it as well to get a better understanding of the thought process and logic that goes on that I'm thinking of and how I approach something, why I approach something a certain way, and the solutions and the challenges that I come across. That way it becomes a bit more of behind the scenes kind of look, I think is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's kind of the purpose of this. And of course, it's kind of fun too, right? I mean, I don't usually get to work on these projects that often. So when I do, it's fun and I like to share it. Okay, so this is the old client I'll be online if you guys want to hop in and play. And we'll be playing in some game rooms for sure. So if you got Bomberman skills and you know how to play, or if you don't know how to play, go practice, because it's going to get real. In that game room, it is chaos. What do I mean by chaos? It is brutal how challenging this game can be when you play against experienced players. Let me just show you what I mean real quick. So this is roughly the kind of thing you can expect when you get a bunch of people in a room. So you get 8 people playing in a room, either every man for themselves, and you're going to learn why we have the quote, popsicles are evil, and why you should fear the popsicles. Okay, you definitely learn that the hard way. But it is very challenging, and it is real time, in your face. You got nowhere to run, right? And it's so fun. It's so fun. And the best part is, so I used to be really good at this when I initially made this, and I used to destroy everyone in the game room. Anyone who would come in there, they'd be like, wow, you're like so good. And I'm like, no, you just need to learn the strategy, right? And then in time, those same players that I used to destroy now pretty much destroy me, because they've gotten better at the real-time strategy of the game, and they've surpassed me as the creator. And I consider that as a positive accomplishment on my part, even though I'm the one who's getting wrecked. Still, I think it's totally worth it, and it's very fun. Especially when you get like 8 people in the room, it is chaotic. It is chaotic. But that's what makes it fun. So anyway, so that's coming up on the 7th, coming up in a bit. All right, so with this, now we have focus. With focus, I don't believe I'm going to go any further with the input text field and that logic, because I think you're going to be able to navigate to it on a touch screen. So on a mobile device or with mouse and keyboard, you're going to be able to navigate to it and put in the room password. However, if you're on a gamepad, I don't yet have a solution for entering in characters or chat message or anything on a gamepad. I'm going to have to look into finding a solution. I have a couple ideas in mind, but it's never going to be as good as a touch screen or a real keyboard, to be honest. It's just not. There's no way I can possibly implement a solution that would allow a game controller to be even remotely close to as intuitive as a keyboard or as a touch screen. But I have some interesting ideas in mind that I want to experiment with and see what makes sense, what feels intuitive, what is a good user experience, should I say. And if that means then not implementing anything and relying on the users to enter, no, actually that wouldn't work. I would have to implement something. Because what if a user doesn't have, like let's say you implement or install sideload onto a Android TV, all right, and you don't have a keyboard, then that means you don't have the ability to chat. Yes, I would have to implement something. It's just low on my priority list. Let's put it that way. It's just low on my priority list. That's all. Okay, so with this working now, we can navigate. So that's for a room that requires a password. But what about one that doesn't? Okay, so it will automatically try to join. Okay, that's good. And then we can still navigate to wherever we want. All right, but I'm testing with test data. So let's go and connect and get some live data and see what that looks like. So we'll go to scene. We'll go to the loading or main menu. Either way, server is up. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so this is live data. Update. Okay, so we don't have a game room. I'm going to go ahead and create one on the test account. Oh, that's not going to work. Whoops. I keep forgetting about that. When you boot up the server, I have to allow logins. This was intentionally implemented, of course, for updates to allow members. Okay. Okay, there we go. So with that, now I can create a game room. We'll call it a classic game room. This one will not be password protected. So that's one game room. And then I'll go create a second one. This one will be password protected. And we'll make it a Teams room. Okay. So now we have two active rooms. So when I log in here and I connect to the server over the TCP/IP socket connection, which is currently local, I should be able to pull that real-time data. Okay, and there's my game rooms. Okay, so what about joining then? If I go to join this one that has a password, okay, so that's correct. It gives me the password prompt. And then what about if I try to join the other one? I'm not sure what happened. So let's have a look at the packets and see what happened there. Did I send the join room, request join room? So I did send that to the server. That doesn't look right though. So I think my packet was malformed. I didn't send the correct information. So let's have a look at that and see what happens when I do request a server or a game room join. Where was that logic? Right here. Room ID. Did I send room ID? I don't remember seeing that. What is room ID? Room ID is oh, okay. Yeah, that's not right. So that's why it didn't come up. It's because it's an empty string. Room ID does not exist. Room ID is unique ID, and it is not. It is not a string. It's an integer, and it will return unique ID. So this way, regardless of if you call room ID or unique ID, it's the same ID, but really it should be unique ID. But room ID visually makes more sense. unique ID exists because the base class that we're extending from. So that makes sense. Okay, so then room ID is now string selected room ID. I want that to be an integer. We'll start off with -1. -1 means no room selected, because values start from 0 and they go up. So -1 is definitely an invalid number. Okay, so then from there, this works. However, this does not. Room ID, room ID. Okay, that's just because it needs to be a string. Okay, that should solve it. So we'll relog in and have a look at it and see, because when I send that packet, because I can view the packets that I send with that custom, oh, we got an error. What was the error? Cannot convert into string. Oh, okay. I missed that. So this would be changed to that. Okay. Now we're good to test it. Yeah, there's a lot of little details. It's easy to overlook a detail like that, but that's okay though, because it's those little details that make it challenging, and it's those little details that you get to experiment with and have some fun with it. So what I want to see is I want to see the packets of communication specifically. When we go to join, did we join the room? Yes, we did. So on this client, it shows that we've joined, right? But because we didn't sync correctly, right, we can see it existing. We exist within this room. However, because over here, right, we haven't handled all of the packets yet and managed it, we're still on this screen. But now we should be able to click here, have a look at our packets. So we sent room join request, so it was room ID 131, and then the server should have sent us back join game room success, and it tells us the room ID, the room something, some kind of name, and game type. So then what we need to do is on a verification back from the server, what are these though? What is room join request, join game room 6? Oh yeah, okay, that's just duplicate. That is SFS duplicate. Okay, so we sent a room join request is what we sent out, and then we got back join game room success, and then that's where we're at. That's where we need to handle it and take it from there. I definitely consider that a success. So likely it'll work the same for the password room. But what we need to do next step is all of the synchronization. So on join game room success, we need to change the scene. We need to set some parameters. We need to change the scene. And then we need to request synchronization when we're ready. And then the server will sync us. And then once we've been synced, and we're fully synced and ready to go, then the server will know that we have properly joined this room, and we can continue with the starting of the game. And that's an important part of it. But that's also a complex piece of logic to get into. So that's a bit more than what I'm ready to get into tonight. And there's some other outstanding things that we need to get done and out of the way first. So I'm okay with leaving that there. So what we did is we partially cleaned up this class. We did not check condition 0, so I want to do that next. I want to check condition 0. And then the pop-up message and the password. So this we addressed. Have not tested join room. We've tested join room, and we've not figured this out yet either. So pretty much most of it, but we need to check this. And then from here, then what remains is the joining the game room, and then all the synchronization stuff that comes with it, which is quite a bit of work. And then I need to figure this out too at some point. I'll figure it out though. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so what I want to do next is the, I believe the 0 condition. So if there's 0 game rooms, it's supposed to show you a nice little message. So on this one, we will exit. On this one, we'll close it. So if we update list, that one should have updated. Ooh, we got a crash. Nice. Interesting. So we got a server-side crash. I haven't seen one of these in a very long time. I'm going to make note of that so I don't lose it. It looks like a strange use case scenario. Definitely going to save that. Okay, so that's why it didn't. That's why I didn't load the rooms correctly, but that's okay. Just rebooting the server real quick. I'm actually always happy to find those crashes, because then that means that's another thing I can figure out logically. Okay, so when there's no game rooms, it's supposed to show you this thing here. It's supposed to show you there is no game rooms you can join. You should make your own room. That's what we want to display into that area, which is over here. Oh, we're not connected right now. But yeah, that's what I want to show. So I want to check the condition logically. If there's 0 to show, I want to show that message. I don't know if I've brought that in yet into this new project. It's a little image. So let's have a look at it and see if I have brought that in. Just don't know if I have. Okay, so from here, panel secondary game rooms. No game room. I do have it. It's just it is it's under the canvas, so how can we do that? Can move it under this canvas? Yeah, you can't do that. Oh no, how are we going to do that? I can. Looks good. Thank you. I appreciate that, Uzak. We'll get there. It'll be playable in time, and we'll have some fun with it. We'll definitely get there. Let's see. Okay, so what I can do is I can bring it in under the canvas. That's an option. Or we can separate it out from the canvas and have it just be something I overlay on top of this area. I think that's probably an easier solution, because then I would need to make it into an object that I can then insert into either the canvas, or I can push into the scroll view viewport, which I don't really think is necessary. All I need to do is just display it on top. So let's do that. So what we'll do with this is we will image no game room. I think we'll just recreate it. So go to here, create a game object. We will add a sprite renderer, and then the sprite renderer will be the no game room one. Okay, and then we'll bump it up layer wise. We'll put it on GUI. We'll put it on layer, whatever, layer 10, I guess, just so it's on top. And then what we'll do is just through logic, enable and disable it. And of course, it'll need to be repositioned appropriately. So it kind of fits center. It's not a big deal though. That's the old canvas. I think we can remove the old canvas at this time, actually. Is there any logic here that I need? I don't think there is. Let's remove that. Don't need it anymore. Okay, so this one, we'll move it up here a little bit, and let's reposition this just so it kind of, it doesn't have to, but I kind of want to just center it a little bit. So about there, and we'll say about there. Close enough. Okay, so this one is going to be a game object. We don't need to do anything. I don't think we need to do anything to it right now. I do want to do a little bit of a transition thing to it later, but that's later. I don't think we need to do anything like that at this time. Okay, let's see. What I want to do is we need to store this reference though. So image no game rooms. We have that right there. Okay, so we already have it. I wasn't thinking about it, but it already exists. We just need to use it. So this one that's missing, right there. So let's see how the logic for that works. When there's no game rooms available, all it does, that it already does that. But it's in the wrong location. Oh. Okay, where does this get called from? One from here. Create test rooms. Let's see where else does it get called from. The other one is not really active. So really from, oh, it is active. Okay, so from here as well. Okay, so what we need to do is just repurpose this a little bit. So instead of this logic, let's change this. I want to preserve it for references, but we're going to change that. So instead of container transform child, it's going to be component scroll view, and it's going to be dot count at least one child active. Active and higher. Oh, yeah. No, I don't want to do that. I don't care about that. Okay, we do not need that. That's old way of doing it. New way is better. One child active doesn't matter. So if count is greater than 0, we want to set it to true. Otherwise, it's going to be false. That's all we need. Just check. If there's at least greater than 0, that means there's one game room available. If there isn't one, then that means we can show that message. So let's see it in action. But to do that, we need to be able to test it. So how can we test it? I can create game room, update room list. Okay, let's do a random. Yeah, let's do a random. Random dot, actually, how did I do it? Generic functions dot random whole number. We'll say 0 and 100. So we have our random number. We'll say if random number is greater than 50, we will show the game room. If it is not, we will just remove them. Consider it as cleared. Do we not clear? Where's the... Oh, we already have that here. Okay, that's fine then. So then I don't actually need this. Okay, so we'll use a random. So it'll be a 50-50. If we roll greater than 50, we'll show 6 test rooms. If we roll under 50, it'll be none. And because it's none, we should get that message saying that there are no game rooms. So by default, then, that would mean that this would need to be disabled. So we'll leave it in the disabled state, so it's not visible. Let's go ahead and run it in test mode and see. And if this works in test mode, I'm confident it'll work in live. Okay. Not what I was thinking. Really not what I was thinking. But okay, that's fine. Let's go with it. I'm not sure what's going on. That should not be visible when there's a bunch of listings. But at least we know it displays, so that's a good thing, right? That's what I meant to test. I was just testing to see it displays. Not really, no. Where is that? Oh, okay. That's why both conditions are set to true. Whoops. Okay, so if, okay. If count is greater than 0, true. If count is less than, or do I have it backwards? If it's greater than 0, I do have it backwards. If it's greater than 0, it's greater than 0, because they exist, we want to hide it. If it is less than 0, we should, yeah. That's what we want. Okay, so now we have a proper true and false for displaying it. This time it should work. This time it should work, I think. Okay, so it's not displayed. We'll get to here, update. Oh, what happened there? Look at that scroll bar. That's not right. What happened there? So when we said update list, what did it do? It didn't crash. So I don't know what it did there, but it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. Because I thought it would just enable this, but then something went haywire with the scroll view. Okay, let's see. Component scroll. Oh, yeah, okay. I think there's something wrong here. Component scroll view count. No, it should be set actually. Otherwise, it would have been an error. Not sure what happened there actually. Why did the scroll bar all of a sudden get so large and then it just kind of, I don't know. Okay, let's just put this back and see at what point did it fail. We'll just go with 1. Yeah, forget the whole random thing. We'll just put in a number manually and see what happens. Oh wow, we're kind of running low on time here. So I will say, for those of you that were here for the broadcast, thank you for coming to hang out. I appreciate that. I do broadcasts on Tuesdays and on Fridays. My schedule is available on Twitch, and hopefully in the future I will That is so strange. Why is the scroll view bar so tiny? Does that make sense? That is so strange. Oh, okay. Hmm. I think that might be another Unity bug I just came across. I'll have to look into that in a bit more details, but it's something I will for sure. I'll figure it out, and I'll figure out an appropriate solution for it. But what I was saying though is that I appreciate you guys coming to hang out. If you do like these broadcasts, Tuesdays and Fridays is when I do broadcast. I broadcast regularly on Tuesdays and Fridays. I don't broadcast for that long. If you do happen to miss any of them, now I can definitely say with confidence that they are archived onto YouTube for any broadcast moving forward from this point. That way I don't need to archive them and maybe forget about them or whatever the case may be. They're just there for your viewing, and you're welcome to watch any of the previous broadcasts that are archived onto YouTube. And if you want to come hang out when I am broadcasting live, feel free to do so. I broadcast both on Twitch and on YouTube. Whichever is your preference, I'm okay with it. And yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you want to see when I go live. And there's also the Discord server if you want to just join the community of members who are there and waiting for the new version of the game, this new cross-platform version, to be ready and playable. The Discord server is more about just hanging out and socializing and not about game development. And the last thing I want to mention is that the 12th anniversary of the project is coming up. I have posted it on my dev journal, and I will post about it again. It is coming up very soon. It is on June 7th. Your time zone may be different than mine, but I will be available. I'm going to be working that day, so I'll try to be online during my lunchtime for a brief period of time, and then that also the 7th happens to fall onto the broadcast day. So that day's broadcast 2 weeks from now, I'll be online playing with you guys as well as broadcasting at the same time. And that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to the 12th anniversary, and we'll see how that goes. But that's going to be it for me today. So thank you for watching. Have a great evening, and I'll see you in the next time.